We continue our coverage and discussion about Alpo Martinez, the legendary Harlem drug dealer from the 1980s and 90s who was gunned down in Harlem on October 31. Alberto Alpo Martinez was known as the Mayor of Harlem, who became the #1 cocaine dealer in NYC and the crack king of Washington, D.C. Before his arrest, he was charged with 14 murders and drug trafficking. And to avoid dying in jail, Alpo testified against his former friends and other drug lords and got 35 years. He was out in 25 years in 2015. The 2002 movie Paid in Full features Alpo and his two partners, Rich Porter and Azzy Faison. It is a cult classic and helped Mackie Alpo even more famous. But by the time the movie came out, Alpo was doing hard time in the Supermax prison in Colorado. After serving his time, Alpo was released and given a new identity, Abraham Rodriguez, in a new location in Lewiston, Maine, in 2015. But Abraham couldn't shake off the legend of Alpo, and he soon began making trips back to the big city. Alpo's life came to an end on Halloween night 2021, when he was shot to death in his pickup truck at 3:30 in the morning at the corner of 147th Street and Frederick Douglass Boulevard. He was 55 years old. Since our last story, we have enjoyed and consumed the many YouTube videos about Alpo and the different views on who killed him and why. Several of those YouTubers reached out to us to push their side of the story. We will try and give the YouTubers credit where credit is due. In the final days and weeks of Alpo's life, it seemed like he either had a death wish or knew that his life was coming to an end. Gene Deal, in his YouTube video, claims that he spoke to Alpo shortly before his death and that Alpo told him, "I'm still a man, and I accept my fate." There were so many people in Harlem who had a big beef with Alpo that we are surprised that somebody didn't pull the trigger earlier. But who knows if the people who Alpo shamed 35 years ago are still around to hire a killer or have a close friend or family member bring their revenge. Another YouTuber, The Real Rap Show, has some tales about Alpo doing people wrong during his time as the King of Harlem. These tales include sleeping with girls with boyfriends in Harlem, videotaping his sexcapades, and showing the video to a large crowd in a club or a group of drug dealers, with the boyfriend stuck to have to watch his girl sleeping with Alpo. These sexual conquests continued with Alpo until he ratted out much of Harlem and went away. But in recent months, Alpo's sexual appetite returned, and one theory is that he was sleeping with a woman who had a man, and that man had a gun, and the rest is history. One report had Alpo waiting for the girl at 3 a.m. on Halloween morning when he was killed. At the final months, Alpo was back in Harlem, dealing drugs, and openly touting who he killed and what he did. It was almost as if he was daring someone to do something about it, said Harlem's Clarence C. The final nail in his coffin, many believe, was the video Alpo shot on Nov. 3, 2019, where he traces the path he took when he killed his partner, Rich Porter. Some believe that Alpo was jealous when he killed Porter. Others say he just wanted all the power and money for himself. But it took 2 years from when Alpo shot a disrespectful video to when he was gunned down. Alpo's explanation, which can be found on video, is that Porter was stealing from the partnership by buying drugs at a lower price and then charging Alpo the larger price. It all amounted to around $300,000 from a drug ring that was making $1 million per week, or $50 million a year. Rich Porter's family is said to be jubilant over Alpo's death. Porter's niece, Laurel, is quoted as saying, "We waited for a long time for this day to come, and we are happy. We're out here celebrating, drinking champagne. It's a celebration for Harlem, period. Now, my uncle can finally rest in peace." 32 years later, she continued, "Every dog has their day, and today was his." Another account had Alpo slapping some man over a fight about a woman. Po was a foul, grimy dude, loved to slap men, make sex videos with hidden camera, then play it in public. Po liked taking people pride, make a woman suck his dog in front of a crowd. He effed up and slapped the wrong cat on Halloween. My man's laid him in his grave where he need to be. The other scenario was that when Alpo entered witness protection in 2015, he was sent to Lewiston, Maine. Eventually, Alpo got bored with Maine and his new life and started going back to Harlem. That is what one of his neighbors in Maine said. Eventually, those trips from Maine to Harlem got more frequent, and he started spending more and more time in Harlem, and the drug dealing began again, with, according to Sub-O, Alpo would park his motorcycle in the early morning hours and collect his drug money from his dealers in the housing projects on the east side of Manhattan, Harlem. Most observers who have spoken out believe his past caught up with him. Others say that Alpo was up to his old games of sleeping with women and pissing off the boyfriends. He could care less, because in those final days he didn't care, or knew that he was going to die soon, or that he was embarrassed that his mother and sister were being hassled by the police and the feds. Was Alpo running out of money? Or, as the real rap show surmises, he didn't want to die broke and just another somebody. The one remaining member of the trio, and from the move paid in full, is Ezzy Faison, who has survived getting shot multiple times. Not by Alpo, and not serving any time for his massive drug dealing, as he has given multiple interviews on YouTube. Just plug in his name and check them out. His version of the life with Alpo tells a story of meeting up with Alpo shortly after he killed Rich Porter. As he sees Alpo's blood-scratched hands and asks what happened, Alpo lies and says it was his girlfriend, as he knows that Rich had long fingernails and surmised that he fought back when Alpo killed him. Later that day, Alpo returns to Ezzy's apartment and tries to lure him into his car to kill him, but Ezzy is hip to the scheme.